For the past few years, I've made a the good, the bad, the ugly video about working at Meta, and of course the tradition will continue this year. It's nuts just how fast time flies and how much can change over the course of a year. As a reminder, these videos are illustrative of my perspective and my experience. You may completely disagree and feel a completely different way. People will have different experiences and perspectives. This is simply my own take, so take everything with a grain of salt. One final thing, if you like these types of videos, please drop a like and subscribe to the channel. Thanks, and without further ado, let's get into it. We'll start off with the good, and to be honest, it was really hard for me to populate this list. Maybe I've just been here too long. Maybe I'm just a jaded, angry old man. But I really struggled to come up with things that I found good in 2025. I'm sure in reality there is a lot of the good. But relative to the things that are bad and ugly, my mood and outlook definitely leans to the negative. Regardless, let's get into some of the good so we can at least start the video off with some positivity. First of all, continuing on from 2024, there's been a massive investment into AI at the company. I'll touch on the negative aspects of this later, but on the positive sides, I can say that for certain that the ecosystem that's being developed around agents and AI tooling has made my life as a developer so much better overall. Despite my initial reluctance to use AI, I've leaned into it quite a bit this year and definitely tried my hand at vibe coding. While sometimes it spits out absolute slop and nonsensical garbage, I will be the first one to admit that it has supercharged me as a developer. Now, I don't trust it for more hardcore tasks, but whenever something is more mundane or repetitive, I can blow through code in 15 minutes that would have taken me much longer to develop. The AI suggestions seem to be getting better as the models become more advanced, and there are so many custom agents and tooling popping up that those little annoying tasks and features that we have to do are just so much easier to navigate. I'm happy with my current level of AI usage, and I can definitely say that the improvement to when we first started rolling these out has been absolutely massive. I'm able to finish my work much faster than before, which ultimately allows me to deliver ahead of schedule and builds in some extra flexibility and buffer space for those extra little client requests or issues. I've definitely seen my work-life balance improve as a function of this, as I can just get my work done quicker and spend the rest of my day doing things outside of work. Number 2 is again on the AI front. Now, I can't say that I've personally benefited from this, but for the sake of completeness, I do want to mention it. With the boom in AI investment at the company, there are definitely great growth and promotion opportunities which have emerged. With so much focus on AI, jumping into a team where they are AI focused or delivering some tool or service powered by AI can be a big boom for your career. It seems like everyone around me is spinning up their own AI agent and trying to sell some narrative about X% move in Y metric. At the end of the day, a lot of this is just hype, but management is rewarding it, and typically being involved in these sort of initiatives has paid dividends for those involved. For those that do want to jump headfirst into the AI space, there definitely are great teams and opportunities where this is all possible, and great benefits to boot as well. For number 3, you can see how I'm really grasping at straws to come up with more good points here, but it's worth a quick mention. In my previous good, bad, ugly video, I mentioned that as a result of the 2024 election, there was a possibility for friction between the administration and Meta due to historical misgivings. Well, luckily that never really materialized, partly because quickly after the inauguration, all of the big tech CEOs came to the White House to basically bend the knee and kiss the ring of the emperor. So safe to say there probably aren't going to be any investigations or scandals emerging from the executive or legislative branches in the US, hopefully. Whenever that storm comes around, it invariably causes a lot of internal chaos and the stock takes a massive hit, so at least on that front, there hasn't been a regression. Alright, well that does it for the good. Now let's tackle the bad. And trust me, it was hard to whittle this down to just 3 points. To avoid this video being an hour long, I'll keep it to the top 3 which have personally annoyed me the most. Let's start with the financial aspect. This year, unexpectedly, they just blanket cut RSU refresher amounts for everyone by 10% across the board. And as a cherry on the cake, basically all of the main offices outside of the United States got hit with a further 10% cut. Canada, UK, Ireland, Switzerland, and more. Bam. This was not communicated and just came as a total surprise to everyone. On the day we received our compensation letters, we were all scratching our heads as to where our money had gone. We got absolutely rug pulled. Second, again on the financial aspect of things, the refresher granted this year was around about $700. At the time this video is being filmed, the price has tanked to about $650. The stock has gone up to a high of 780, but given that we have a trading window lockup, it's not really possible to really catch those highs. It seems like unless there's a significant Santa rally at the end of the year, it's basically going to be a sideways motion with respect to the stock price relative to our yearly grant. Given that a lot of people are coming off the back of huge appreciations over the past few years, things might be at a stage where we no longer really see much growth in the stock, or at least not to the levels that we did before. So compensation figures will be lower, and with the decreased RSU amounts mentioned before, the potential for nice total comp figures is greatly diminished. Definitely a first world problem, but finances are important, so it's worth the mention. The last item on the bad list is the flip side of the AI coin that I talked about earlier. While there's been great improvements in the AI tooling ecosystem, it's also been an absolute clown show about how hard management is trying to push this stuff down our throats. Managers and directors are constantly harping about integrating AI and building new agents, without any real consideration of how or why these will be used. It's like there's an org level checkbox that needs to be ticked. AI, 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 agentic, agentic, agentic. People just building useless tools, integrations, and agents just to get in on the action. Most of them are completely useless, but hey, the one that can just polish that turd the shiniest or put the most lipstick on the pig, that's the one who's going to be rewarded. I guess we can't really fault people for playing the game, but it doesn't mean that the game isn't broken. When did we get to the point where we're just creating slop for the sake of it and saying that we're just using AI and integrating into our workflows? Use it for what it's necessary for. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if soon AI is integrated into the internal tool which shows us the cafeteria menus for the day. We don't need it, but why? It's not like all of this AI usage is free anyway. These models are expensive to run, and the power consumption and data center requirements are no joke. I wouldn't be surprised if they realize the monster they've created and then start asking people to scale back and think about their resource utilization. Slapping quotas on compute like we already have for other resource-intensive workflows, this AI craze can't be sustained forever, and we will soon have to face the reality one day. But until then, just keep pressing tab in VS Code and slop away. It's not your credit card that's paying for all the tokens, so let it rip. So we've covered the good and the bad. Now let's take the gloves off and dive into the really good stuff. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the ugly. Right off the bat, let's address the elephant in the room, layoffs. In February, Zuck nuked 5% of the company, the lowest 5% of performers, that is. I have a separate video on this topic, so I won't go over the details again, but the big question now is, will it happen again? Is water wet? Is the sky blue? Is the earth flat? Joking. Please don't shut down my channel, YouTube. It's just a joke. Algorithm, please, relax. We're just having some fun. There's no official confirmation, as there never is, but let's be honest, once that Pandora's box is open, that's it. It's here to stay. In the mid-cycle evaluations, we saw that the quotas for below expectations ratings grew by a few percentage points, and this is just confirmation that the heat is definitely being turned up. I fully expect that it's just going to be a rolling thing now. The bottom 5% will be let go every year. I'm happy to be wrong. Actually, I want to be wrong. I really do. But realistically speaking, I think this is just the game that we play now. Morale has definitely taken a hit as a result of this, and people have their eyes focused on their own survival more than before. One bad half can put you in that meets most bucket, and you could be in the firing line. It's a terrible system because we stack rank results, and as I mentioned before, it's just the game we play. We always have the option of just walking away or taking the severance they offer, but for the rest of us, the heat is on the rise, and things are only going to get tighter and tighter. The second part of the ugly is again on the AI front. With all of this hyper-focus on integrating AI into our workflows, they're already tracking and monitoring our usage to a crazy amount. I mean, you can see all of the metrics sliced across all of the possible dimensions you could think of, and I've heard it straight from the horse's mouth from a couple managers that as of now, there is no hard PSC metric requirement for AI usage, but it's not impossible that in the near future, we could see something like a 10 or 15% usage requirement when it comes to performance evaluations. Basically, they want to see that X% of your code is being written by AI, as if this is a proper metric of developer efficiency or impact. Regardless, even if this is just rumor and hearsay, which for the record it might well turn out to be, it's still damn ugly. It's like we're being forced to write slop and then having our job depend on it. It's easy to see how they might try to squeeze more and more unquote-unquote efficiency out of us by just raising that threshold. It's a slippery slope and one that just turns AI from a useful tool to something that has basically a gun to your head. Whether the code is good or not, whether the feature needs to be written, I need my metric to go up, so tab, 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 tab. I don't like it. The last item dovetails with the first two, but also incorporates some macro level trends in the tech sector. I and many of my colleagues tend to speak on this quite often, that we feel this sense of existential dread that's really come on in the past few years. It feels like we're being squeezed from all sides. There's quotas for bad performance review ratings, these are going up, layoff fears, FUD about AI taking our job. It's a constant stress and dark cloud hanging over your head. Couple that with a tight job market and overall stock market turbulence, it just feels like the screws are being tightened and tightened, and there's just nothing you can do about it. The water just keeps rising, the pressure keeps mounting, and all you can do is just try to stay ahead of the pack. Try not to be the slowest gazelle that gets eaten by the lion, that you might survive another day. I've been around long enough to notice a shift over the years. I can see it in my own behavior. I've noticed that I'm more guarded of my work stream, less likely to delegate or to start a collaboration that might not pan out and it affects me in PSC. In the back of my mind, I need to feel secure that the work that I've done is enough to make the cut for PSC. And it's always been this way, but now it's really cranked up. And I know I'm not the only one feeling like this. People are anxious about PSC. They do worry about the layoffs and they can feel the squeeze, whether it's real or not. And ultimately, it's not healthy or productive to work like this long term. Sure, this Hunger Games scenario is great for the company and investors when you can just fire the ones falling behind and replace them with fresh meat eager for a FAANG job. But how long can one play this game? How long can one work like this? And is it all worth it? Has the time come to just pack it in and look for a more stable role somewhere else? Until the recent years, I never really asked myself these questions, but now they come into my mind more and more often. Until now, I was certain that I wanted to stay at Meta long term, but as of late, my eyes are starting to look more and more towards that exit sign. Is it time to jump ship? I wouldn't say it is just yet, as I've still got a little more left in me, but I know that in the next few years the game will be up, but more on that in another video. And that's where I'll leave it for 2025's update. It's certainly been an interesting period, and who knows what to expect in the year ahead. One can only hope for a little bit more job stability, stock market growth, and just not to get laid off in the next round of cuts. Until then, we just wait and see. Thanks for watching to the end. What's your personal good, bad, ugly list for 2025? Please let me know in the comments down below. And until next time, bye.